Right, we will go back to the top story, the big breaking update that we are tracking, that the army helicopter which has crashed in Nilgiris in Tamil Nadu, where 2 people on board have been injured. That's the detail we have so far. There were, of course, more people on board, but those details are still awaited on exactly what's happened as far as the others are concerned. But 2 people on board who've been injured have been rushed to a hospital. That's what the Nilgiris collector has said on record. What else do we know? We also know that that this was an Mi-17 helicopter, and it is an army helicopter. And we'll, of course, what we have also been told is that my colleague Mugilan was reporting on the fact that this area in Nilgiris has in fact seen a lot of rains recently. Whether it was bad weather which actually hit the helicopter, that is something we'll have to wait and see. I'm joined by my colleague Srinjoy on this. Srinjoy, what are the details we have? We of course know that the statement from the army or the defense ministry is still awaited on this, but what are the details at the moment that we do know of? Right, we'll go back to my colleague Srinjoy, or let me go back. In fact, Srinjoy is back with us. Srinjoy, if you could just tell us what are the details we have as of now.
Well, we know it's an armed forces helicopter. It's an Mi-17 helicopter which has crashed in the Nilgiris near Ooty. We also know that a very senior officer of the armed forces was in the chopper along with his staff officers. We know that there have been injuries. What we are waiting for is a confirmation of who was in the chopper, though we know it was a very senior armed forces officer. The rescue operations are going on. People have been taken to hospital and so on. We are waiting for confirmation from the armed forces, from the defense ministry, on what the exact situation is.
Right, Srinjoy, any details that we have about the identity of some of these army officials who were on board?
Well, they have to be confirmed. Even if we do, we have to confirm exactly who was in the chopper. Even if we do, the confirmation is awaited from the defense ministry or the armed forces.
Right, Srinjoy, what has the army or your sources in the defense ministry actually said about basic details that we know about where the helicopter was going?
There has been what we have been told is yes, there has been a crash. Yes, there's an armed forces Mi-17 helicopter. Yes, there has been a very top official of the Indian armed forces who was in the chopper. But beyond that, there is absolutely no confirmation. We are still waiting to hear. We have also been told that rescue operations are going on and people have been taken to hospital.
Mm-hmm. Right. These are, of course, early days in the sense that this is just the initial information that we are getting on this. Srinjoy, lastly, if you could just also tell us, because I was also discussing that with my colleague Mugilan, that Nilgiris anyways is a hilly area, and that area had also witnessed rainfall recently. So there was, of course, this concern in terms of the fact that there could be bad weather which affected the, which was
yes,
one of the main factors.
It's possibly bad weather, but at the end of the day, yes, bad weather, but helicopters fly through bad weather. So we don't know exactly what caused the crash, who is responsible and all that. The important thing now to find out is how all the people who are in the chopper are. We heard that rescue operations are going on. Over to you.
Right, Srinjoy, thank you so much for joining us with that. So Srinjoy is in fact reporting. In fact, if we can just talk about the fact that initial information is coming in that the CDS Bipin Rawat was in fact on this particular chopper. This is, of course, very initial information that is coming in. Let me go across to my colleague Mugilan for more on this. Mugilan, we are getting information at the moment that the helicopter was on its way from the Sulur IAF base to the defense services, and that CDS Bipin Rawat was on board this particular chopper along with his staff.
Definitely, yes. Yes, that is what we are learning now, that Bipin Rawat was on board, is what we are hearing, and it is a Mi-17 helicopter which has crashed, and it has left from the Sulur Air Base, is what we are hearing as of now. And what we could hear from the defense personnel here in Chennai is that totally there were 9 people on board on that fateful helicopter, is what we are hearing, and there have been several, at least 2 have been rescued with serious injuries, and there have been casualties also being recorded. We are waiting for an official confirmation. At least 4 casualties feared is what we are hearing, but still we are waiting for official confirmation. But what is confirmed now is that it is an Mi-17 helicopter, and it has left from Sulur base, and top army personnel Bipin Rawat was on board, is what we are hearing from the local administration.
Right. Yes, exactly. As you said, Mugilan, that these are, of course, details which are coming in that the CDS Bipin Rawat might have been on that chopper along with his staff. We'll, of course, have to wait and see what information comes in on this. But we do know, I mean, you've been speaking to your local sources over there, the collector as well as the police officials in Nilgiris. Do we have any indication as to when they are saying that 2 people have been hospitalized, who these people are, and what's the status of how many people were actually on board?
The initial information, what we are getting from the district administration, that is Nilgiris district administration sources and different sources here in Chennai, is that at least 9 people were on board, and 2 of them has been very seriously injured. And you can see in the visuals, you can see the severity of the impact. Almost most part of the helicopter is on fire, and you can see the police personnel trying to douse off the fire. And as you asked, Nilgiris is a very hilly terrain, is a hilly district. In most parts of the year, it will be completely crowded, and we have to wait, for confirmation from the different sources to know exactly what has caused the crash. But this has been confirmed now. That is an army helicopter has crashed, and Mi-17 helicopter.
In fact, Mugilan, let me just
left from Sulur Air Base, and more importantly.
Right, Mugilan, stay with us. In fact, let me just read out the fact that the Indian Air Force has actually put out a tweet where they have in fact said that it was an IAF Mi-17V5 helicopter with CDS General Bipin Rawat on board, which met with an accident today near Kunnur, Tamil Nadu. An inquiry has been ordered to ascertain the cause of the accident. So, IAF has in fact put out this information, which we are breaking for our viewers at the moment, that CDS Bipin General Rawat was on board in that particular chopper which met with an accident in Nilgiris. Let me go back to my colleague Mugilan for more on this. Mugilan, in fact, we have just seen that the Indian Air Force has actually confirmed this crash, and in fact also said that General Bipin Rawat was on board. So that is now certain. The official statement is out over there. We'll of course have to wait and see what more details actually come out in terms of, what's the status on ground at the moment in terms of rescue and relief operations, and also about the injuries. We do know that some people have been hospitalized, but more word is awaited on that.
Definitely, yes. Now an official confirmation also is coming in that definitely, as we discussed, it is an IAF Mi-17 helicopter which has left from Sulur that has crashed, and an official confirmation is that the CDS General Bipin Rawat was on board, is the official confirmation that we are getting from the Indian Air Force. And yes, since the information of this crash, we are speaking with several district administration officials and in the local level reporters. What we could hear from them is that there are many people seriously injured. As we reported, at least 2 have been very seriously injured, and they've been rushed to the hospital. And as I said earlier, casualties are feared because what we could learn from the reports on ground from Nilgiris is that casualties are feared because we can see in the visuals also the helicopter has completely gone up in fire. It has crashed from an high altitude. So what we could learn from the local reporters there in Nilgiris district is that casualties are feared from this crash, and at least 9 were on board of that particular helicopter is what we could confirm now through our local sources.
Right, Mugilan, stay with us. I'm also joined by Manu Pabi of the Economic Times. Manu, thank you so much for speaking to us. What details do we have? I know the Indian Air Force, of course, has put out an official tweet on the matter. But any word that we are hearing from the Defense Ministry or the Army on this?
There's no official word yet, but yes, it is confirmed that the CDS and at least one of his family members was on board the chopper that went down. And we don't have any official word on the status of the passengers from the armed forces or the Defense Ministry. The statement is only about the crash yet, but the situation does look pretty grim. Videos emerging from the site, are pretty grim. And it is very unusual, firstly, to see a crash of a Mi-17 V5. This is the latest version of the Mi-17 helicopters we have. They are used for VVIP duties. The same choppers which carry senior government officials, ministers, and they are among the safest we have. So it is very unusual to have this chopper crash, and we'll have to wait and see what the inquiry points to. But as of now, no official word on the status of the passengers. Only official word is that the chopper has crashed in Tamil Nadu.
Right, Manu, any details as to, CDS Rawat along with his staff was going to Wellington? Do we know, what his route was, where he was going in terms of, the journey that was planned for this?
Yeah, I think as of now, preliminary information suggests that he was going to give a lecture at the Wellington Staff College, and he had, flown down today morning and was taking the chopper to go to the Staff College. Details or more details on, what time he landed are not yet known, but that seems to be what happened. The Staff College there is where a lot of senior officials go for lectures. It's a routine thing to go there, and I think CDS was on its way to do that today when the crash happened.
Right, Manu, I mean, you've covered the beat, you know this. Generally, there would, of course, be a lot of checks. Of course, one aspect is weather on ground, but there would, of course, be a lot of protocol which is followed when the CDS is traveling. Just take our viewers through the kind of protocol that is usually followed when, this, as you said, that this is a pretty routine travel that he would have probably made even earlier in terms of going to the Wellington College to deliver a lecture. So what kind of protocol is usually followed when the CDS travels along with his staff?
Absolutely. See, the protocol that is broadly followed is that CDS and other senior officers and even, people from the government, they are not allowed to travel on single-engine helicopters, which are more prone to crashes. And this is the case here also. The protocol mandates that senior officers should be in a helicopter with more than one engine. In this case, it was a double-engine aircraft, the Mi-17 V5. Other protocols are, of course, checks of safety. There are additional checks on weather, and the crew which is flying these helicopters is usually very experienced. They are the top of the line pilots. So that treatment is given, and the helicopters are of course new. So this V5 which crashed would have been a brand new aircraft, not more than 5 to 7 years old. And this crashing is very unusual because in this area where the crash has occurred, it is not very prone to bad weather. It is the V5 has crashed in the past, but that has been in difficult areas, in the mountains, in Arunachal, or the Mi-17's crashes have happened in Ladakh. But very unusual to see it crashing on a relatively easy terrain and somewhere where the weather is usually not too bad.
Manu, we don't want to get into any sort of a conjecture at the moment, but as you said that, this is a routine route that, probably the CDS or any other senior army official would have taken in the past. It had been raining in that area, but it was not such a challenging route either. Any details coming in on, what exactly went through? Was there any sort of alert, alarm in terms of the weather conditions, if nothing else?
See, it's too early to say that right now, unfortunately, because, the information is just about coming in of what's happening there. And it's not clear whether there was a weather-related issue, whether there's something wrong with the engines, whether an alert was given. We have not got those details yet. Of course, the inquiry will go into that. The chopper will be examined, the flight data recorder will be seen, ATC records will be checked up. But as of now, unfortunately, we're not able to understand what led to this. We'll have to wait and watch on that front.
Right. Lastly, Manu, before we let you go, any word on how many people were actually there? We are hearing reports that there could have been 9 people on board. Do we know any details on that front?
Again, there's no official word on that, but the helicopter is designed to carry at least that many amount. There would be 3 crew members, 2 pilots and a loader, and it would typically carry 5 to 7 passengers. So yes, the number of 9 would seem to be correct. It can also carry more people than that. The flight manifesto is yet not known, but what we know is the CDS and some of his family members were on board, and perhaps some of his staff also. So the number 3, the crew itself, plus 5 to 7 passengers would likely be on board on this chopper.
And lastly, sorry, I said last question the previous time, but the CDS was traveling with his family members. That was also a routine practice for him. Sometimes when he would go to Wellington for the college lecture, has this happened in the past?
Routine, senior officers are authorized to travel with their spouses when they are going to peacetime locations, when they're going to, ceremonial things. So it is a routine thing. It's not unusual to have the spouse of the senior officer traveling with him.
Right, Manu, thank you so much. Of course, this is very, very early days at the moment, but thank you so much for joining us with that perspective and also giving us as many details as we know of as of now. Let's also cut across to Srinjoy Chaudhary. Right, we'll reconnect with Srinjoy, but as I was speaking to Manu, senior editor from the Economic Times, who was in fact saying that there's no word on the official status of the passengers at the moment, but we do know what we do know is that there are 2 people who have been hospitalized. They were injured, and that the CDS was in fact heading to Wellington College in order to deliver a lecture, and he had some family members as well as staff members on board along with him. We'll, of course, be tracking all details on this big breaking update. Stay tuned to Mirror Now.